Cameron Burgess has been linked to Rangers, my friend. What else do you know?
Not a lot with this one because there's so many different moving parts that come to this. The big one is he going to sign a new deal at Ipswich? There have been talks ongoing for a little while. Kim McKenna's been quite open in that and has said that with Burgess at this stage of his career, he needs to take all the time to assess his options. There has been reported interest from Girona in Spain, who are a Champions League side this season and are not going to be next season because they almost got relegated out of La Liga. I think they are now pretty much guaranteed another place in La Liga for next season, but they will be an interesting prospect. It's a new league, a new culture. And if there's minutes there for Cameron Burgess, then that could still be a very interesting one on the table. But Rangers are now widely reported to have come to the table for this one. This one came from Rangers Review. Sister paper, Rangers Review? I think so. Yeah, so that's really nice. They reported that Rangers are interested in signing him. They're in a little bit of limbo at the moment, Rangers, where they've not got a manager. They've got a few different candidates lined up, and I'm not sure if, again, those count as moving parts with Steven Gerrard, Davide Ancelotti, for example, kind of among the names. Russell Martin, another one who was linked with that job. But they are looking seemingly for another left-sided, left-footed centre-back. In terms of kind of where Burgess would fit in, I think it makes sense. And also you've got to factor in for his career. Cameron Burgess has played the vast majority of his minutes at the lower end of the English football pyramid. And he's worked his way up, and we talk about the story. He's now 29. He's not going to get too many more big moves, but he is in a position where if he was to move to Rangers, don't forget he grew up in Scotland, I think the first 11 years of his life he lived in Scotland. If he was to move to Rangers, he would be challenging for league titles. He would be playing in Europe. He'd be playing in a different league, albeit one that he has kind of been involved in a little bit in the past in a previous loan spell where he didn't actually play. So that's going to be an interesting one to throw into the mix. I don't think that Rangers and Girona will be the only two clubs interested in Cameron Burgess, but definitely a bit of competition there. I don't know from you guys. Would you say that it would make sense looking at Burgess that he would be interested in Rangers? Because I've seen a lot of people call it a backward step because it's the Scottish Premiership. But if you're competing for titles and you're playing in Europe, does that count as something that would really appeal to you if you're in his shoes?
I think throwing in the fact that he's probably looking at similar sort of game time next season, that Jacob Greaves has kind of got his spot and is the younger man as money has been spent on him. I think that will probably be the biggest factor is game time and length of contract will be the two things that Cameron Burgess looks at. As you say, is he 29 now, did you say? 29, 30 in October. So, I think he'll be, if you're Ipswich, you're probably thinking, we know 100% he is Mr. Rock Solid, consistent. He's got us. He's up from the Championship before. We'd love to keep him around, and that's the vibe you get hearing from Kieran McKenna. We'd love to keep him. But then if you're the Ipswich hierarchy, how long a contract do you give him? You hope that, quick-fire promotion back to the Premier League. You're probably not going to be rushing to give him a 3-year deal, possibly even thinking twice about a 2-year deal, maybe 1 year with an extension. And if you're Cameron Burgess, you go, I love it here, but I've got to think about game time and contract length. And then, then it's what appeals most. So reading between the lines, I guess that's probably where both parties are at the moment. I hope he stays because he's been an unbelievable servant. If you'd have said to me, a few years ago, Cameron Burgess will have a La Liga side interested in him. I would have said you needed locking up because there was a time I thought he was going to be a solid head on a stick League One centre half, but looked a bit vulnerable on the turn. But my word, has Kieran McKenna taken him up several levels? And just when you think he's kind of peaked, even this year in the Premier League, he's been solid when called upon. So. Hope he stays, but I would understand if he chose to move on.